I was from the outset, I was very open-minded. I looked into a whole lot of things that I could get into. What I really wanted to get into was high tech, because that's where the good stuff is. It's more interesting, and the career opportunities are definitely a lot better. However, I found myself working in publishing for a couple of years, and after about 3.5, 4 years working in publishing, I was finally able to make the jump into high tech. And it's been about 16 years now that I've been working in technical documentation.
Thank you. So basically what you're saying, open-mindedness and proactive mindset are really important. But how did you become familiar with the concept of technical writing, and how did you start your career?
So the first time I actually heard about technical writing was when I got an interview for a job in technical writing. Like I said, it was back in the year 2000, and there was a lot of opportunities opening up, and I got an interview for a company in Tel Aviv as a technical writer, and I'd never heard of it before. I had no idea what it was. And so I'm not exaggerating when I say I literally did 5 minutes of research what technical writing was the day before the interview. I went up to Tel Aviv for the interview, and it was an absolute disaster. I didn't understand the questions. I had to make up the answers as I went along, just to try and sound vaguely intelligent. Needless to say, I didn't hear from them again. I kind of forgot about it for a while. But like I said, I found myself working in publishing for a couple of years. And then once again, this desire, this need to get into high tech came up again. Now, no, I'm not a technical person. I'm not an engineer by any description. So already by then, I had known a lot more people. I had some work experience, and you understand very quickly that technical writing is one of the avenues that can get you into high tech. And so, having made more community contacts at the time, I was able to speak to people. Certainly, there were no webinars like this. A friend put me in touch with someone who was able to. He gave me a lot of time, a lot of advice, explaining to me what I needed to do, what the basic skills were, the stuff that hopefully I'm going to share with you this evening. We discussed different courses that I should do, and then I actually got lucky. Another friend of mine let me know that something was opening up in his company, and it just so happened that a lot of the work that I'd been doing in publishing at the time mimicked a lot of the workflows that we have here in high tech in the technical writing context, and so I was able to leverage that, and luckily I was taken on for a first job and given complete on-the-job training, which was very fortunate for me, and that was way back, like I said, 15, 16 years ago, and haven't looked back.
So basically, it's all about networking. Who you know.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no, obviously one has to, do what you can to build up the skills and to get the knowledge and the information. But yes, networking definitely goes a long, long way. No question about it.
Right. So can you tell us a little bit about your present day, about Nova, what you do there, what your work is like?
So Nova is one of the Israeli high-tech success stories. It's a multinational company. The headquarters are here in Rehovot. That's where I am now. And what we do is we make quality control devices for the manufacture of microchips. To explain that simply, the large microchip manufacturing companies who are producing an incredible amount of microchips on a daily basis, they need to make sure that the microchips being manufactured are being manufactured to spec, are being made as they were designed. If there's a malfunction or something's not quite right, then the product that the microchip is going to be used in is going to malfunction. And one of the steps that the microchip goes through in its manufacturing process is it goes through a machine that we provide, and it uses our hardware, it uses our software and it checks that things are being made correctly, and then it gets a yay or a nay, and it moves on to the next stage in the processing. That's a gross oversimplification, but it'll do for now. My personal areas of responsibility, I'm responsible for hardware and software, for software installation and upgrades. That's my specific areas that I actually write on. Beyond that, most of what I do is I manage our online knowledge base, our technical knowledge center. It's a repository of roughly 1,000 procedures and documents and articles that our engineers use to do their jobs. We manage that, we maintain it, and we publish roughly 70 new procedures a month.
It sounds like a lot. So what do you actually do on a daily basis? Could you describe a day in the life of a technical writer?
Sure. So I'll try to describe it visually, because I think this helps. If you imagine on the one end, you have a technical person, you have a software developer, a software engineer. The person is actually creating the program or the product. And on the other hand, you have the end user. The person is actually going to use it. Now more often than not, especially when dealing with complex enterprise software, it requires elaboration. You can't just open it and use it. You need to be taught. You need to be told, how does it work? What do you do? What are the best practices? Now the problem is the developers on this end have neither the time nor the inclination generally to speak to customers. And if they did, they would overwhelm the customer or the user with too much information, too much jargon. It wouldn't actually be of any use. And so the technical writer stands in between them, in the middle, and sort of like an information broker. And the job basically is to get into the heads of both of these two sides, is to understand from a customer's perspective, and this will differ per product, per service, whatever it is, what does he actually need to know in order to use this most efficiently, and then to go back to the other side and to get into their head and to sit with them and to interview them and to play with the product and use the product yourself, and to extract all the relevant information, which you then have to transform into a medium, into some form that we can then present to the end user, that it will actually make sense. The analogy I like to give is, I don't need to be a motor mechanic in order to teach you how to drive a car. I don't care what goes on under the bonnet of a car. I need to know the steering wheel does this, the clutch does this, the brakes, etc., etc. The difficulty comes is when you go and you speak to the mechanic, or you go in and you sit with developers and you go through developers internal documentation. It's an overflow of information that is more often than not too much. A lot of it is not relevant. And so it's about learning how to pass that information and to extract just what is relevant for the user. Important to remember, technical writing, technical documentation is not something anybody reads for pleasure. No one reads it for pleasure. And so you have to create something that someone is going to use. It has to be clear, it has to be concise, it has to be to the point, it has to give them exactly what they need, no more and no less. And so it's this constant balance between the two, working with the engineers to get the information. More often than not, they won't give you enough. You need to learn what to ask, how to ask it. You need to understand, like I said, it's getting in the heads of both these sides, and just making the flow clear, that when the user does need the technical documentation, he uses it for as short amount of time as possible, and that it gives him the biggest impact that he can.
So it's a bit like writing a user manual, only more technical.
It is writing a user manual. The user manual is a perfect example of technical writing, but there is a lot more to it than that, which I'll get to a bit later. A lot of the architecture of it and the delivery of it, all that comes into play as well.
So a bit of psychology, a bit of technology, and a lot of people skills.
Politics.
And
Politics. The word politics, yes.
So
Navigating a lot of politics.
I'm sure you get wet at times.
Yeah.
Are there any skills you feel were paramount to your success?
I think there are two skills. There are two natural skills that a person needs. They're separate skills, and I think it's crucial to have both of them. The first one is to understand technical concepts. Now, that doesn't mean you need to be an engineer. I'm very far from an engineer. A lot of the stuff that I hear in meetings goes over my head. But you have to be able to grasp it enough to understand the theory behind it and a lot of the practicality behind it. The next skill is an ability to express yourself in writing, to express a thought clearly in writing without waffling, without being too verbose. I think these are two separate skills. In my opinion, you need both of them. You can't teach a non-technical person, a person who can't grasp technical things, I don't think you can teach them how to do it. And a person who can't write, I don't think you can teach a writing skill. It's a natural skill. So I think anyone who feels that they have both of these two skills, that they're comfortable with them, then there's definitely something to build on. Any course that you do is going to build on those skills, and they're not going to teach you how to understand technical information. They're going to teach you the different softwares that we use, the different approaches to take. But the basics, core skills, I think those are paramount. Those two.
And is the writing in English? Do you need Hebrew? At what level and what for?
Just want to go back to say one more thing about the writing, just yes. To clarify. Technical writing is not marketing writing. It's not blogging. It's not content writing. Those are all different skills entirely. It's very far from free-flowing writing. In technical writing, the language is very concise. The grammar is very terse. If you're looking for the free-flowing stuff where you really want to express yourself, there may be other avenues for that. It's not technical writing. I just wanted to add that. Regarding the language, the output is in English. The work that I write is in English. It's all in English. The question as to what level of Hebrew is required to do the job, there's two things. Number one, Hebrew absolutely is a requirement. That's the bad news. The good news is, I think the bar is relatively low. Now, by that, what I mean is you need to be able to communicate. You need to be able to express a thought in Hebrew. The high-tech environment is a Hebrew-speaking environment. The default language in a meeting is going to be in Hebrew. When you have a chat with someone, you're making a cup of coffee, the default language is going to be in Hebrew. There'll be a lot of cross-team meetings where you're sitting with technical writers and engineers and other people as well. The language is going to be in Hebrew. You need to understand it. In terms of meetings and speaking to people one-on-one, like I said, you don't need to be a university lecturer. You don't need to be Amos Oz. Okay, you need to be able just to express a thought. You need to be able to communicate. It's a very forgiving environment. People will tolerate mistakes. I make them all the time. If I haven't had enough coffee, I have bad Hebrew days. So that's what I would say. You need the Hebrew, but it doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be, you need to be able to communicate. Just to make yourself understood.
Okay, so if your Hebrew is non-existent, you'd be hard put to find employment at all?
If the Hebrew is non-existent, I definitely think you would have a problem. One other thing to point out, despite everything, what I just said, all written communications are almost always in English, and that will be a rule in many high-tech companies. So any presentations that you go to, the PowerPoint will be completely in English, but the discussion around it will be completely in Hebrew. Emails are all in English. Israelis who sit right next to each other, who are talking in Hebrew, if it's a work-related thing and there's an email, most companies will have a rule that it has to be in English. So that helps as well. You know, if it helps to communicate with English, you'll get replies in poor English, which is no worse than your Hebrew would be half the time. So, you know, so that does temper what I said a little bit, you know. So like, don't be too stressed about your poor Hebrew. It won't be the worst language skills going around. That's what I would say.
Right. I think also when we're discussing, you mentioned, and I know that from my own work, that one of the interviews, the job interviews with the hiring person, with the HR person, is usually in Hebrew, yes. Whereas with the manager would be in English.
Correct. The technical documentation teams usually function as English-speaking bubbles within the broader speaking Hebrew environment. So your internal team meetings will usually be in English. Internal discussions with people you work with will usually be in English. Chats to engineers, I see that the question will usually be in Hebrew, almost always. Like I said, that's the default language, will be in Hebrew. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, just I just lost track of that. I think that if an interview with HR, I think you'd be better served by having poor Hebrew than asking to have it in English. I think it sends the wrong signal. It'll send the wrong signal if you ask to have the interview in English.
I think that is correct for any type of job interview, whether in technical writing or another position, even if they're looking for someone who's an English speaker.
Right.
Right. So what would you say are the long-term career/growth opportunities in this field?
So the first thing, like any job that you have, good work is rewarded as opportunities open up for advancement. You become eligible for them within your specific department. Again, that's a given which you could apply to any position. In terms of the growth of the different types of skills that you would be using with the technical writing, I'd split it into two things. There's something which we call content management. So content management is, put it this way, when we speak about technical writing, immediately what you think of is I'm sitting with a procedure and I need to write step 1 to 10. This is what you have to do. A, B, C, and D, put in a couple of pictures, great. That's actually a very small percentage of what we actually do. Just to give an example, like with us, we're a whole team and we have hundreds of documents. Behind that all, there's a whole architecture of all the content, which has to be shared amongst different people, amongst different projects. How to set that up so that information is being reused in the most efficient way. There are conventions, there are rules, there are systems that have to be put in place how to do that. A lot of thought goes into it. You can look it up. Content management it's a real it's a real field unto itself. Over and above that, once you've written your documentation and you have all your procedures, now what do you do with them? And that's where you come to content delivery. And this is how, in what format are you going to make all this information available to your customers? And this is where you come to the help center or the knowledge base. I'm going to give an example in a second. But basically what it is, it's what does the repository look like in a way that's clear to the user, that they can find what they want in as least amount of clicks as possible, and that the information is as straightforward as possible. I'm just going to share my screen. Screen share. Okay. Can everybody see it says a customer showcase?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So this is a website from the company that we use, Madcap Software. They make one of the more robust, advanced technical writing tools that we use, that I work with, and they have these showcases where you can look at what companies are doing. This is the actual practical application of what the technical writing work actually looks like. So they have companies who have put their information up here for anyone to have a look at. Unfortunately, I'm not allowed to show you mine. I could lose my job for that, so I won't do that. I'll just pick one here. Let's take Oracle, a company that people know. And so here you have a help center. It says your help center. This is not the Oracle main website. If you go to oracle.com or whatever it is, you won't find it. You won't find this here. This is where they put all their information. This is all what technical writing does. It's about creating all of this content. If I click on anything here, I'm going to find a plethora of content, of articles, of information, and a lot of thought and design has gone into this. They've said there are users of Oracle, and what does an Oracle user need to deliver this information to him in a way that makes the most sense. There's a lot of UI, there's a lot of UX thought has gone into this as well. I can click on anything here, just give you an example. Click on DevOps. So here, as like you delve in, you see this article upon article. Again, this is designed with their users in mind, so presumably their users will know what this means. And you want to create something. Let's open a document. This is not a good one. Let's just look for something else. Create projects. Okay, so this is actual procedure here. Okay, this is actual writing work that you do. But if you think about it, writing this probably didn't take that long relative to everything else. There's a whole structural architecture behind it of setting all of this up. Behind all of this will be a whole system of source files that are being shared, thoughts that have gone into it. So you have this content management and content delivery, which are very important, to the point where I'm just going to stop sharing. A lot of companies are rebranding their teams because technical writing is not a term that adequately expresses what the job does, given what I've just described. Technical writing is just the writing. We do a lot more than the writing. So some companies call their teams information engineers, knowledge-based professionals, information design and development. You see all of that stuff. That's all referring to the broader world of technical publications. More than that, I'd say once in terms of growth, once you have your foot in the door, you know, who knows where that leads. Like once you find yourself with a good job in a high-tech company and you're there for several years and you become an expert in the product, you understand what they're doing. Other opportunities may open. I don't know if it's so obvious a jump from technical writing to other departments within a company, but once you're in, opportunities may open. And then if you think about what I just showed you 10 years ago wouldn't have existed. 10 years ago, everything was delivered just in flat, boring PDFs. And then it's developed into these online knowledge bases. Things are developing all the time. We're looking at developing, working on an augmented reality platform where engineers can wear a set of Google glasses, and then our technical procedures will be transmitted to them. So as they look at the product that they're working with, the arrows and everything will come on screen and tell them what to do. That's done with a lot of 3D modeling. That's something that we're currently developing as well. So there's, you know, growth will come as technology grows, and as technical writing, like every other field, will grow with it.
So basically what you're saying is it is a field that is growing and developing constantly.
Absolutely.
And there are going to be many opportunities for both a foot in the door, an initial one, and for many years to come. I think the more data we have and the more applications, everything needs to be documented. documented, right?
That's correct. That's correct. But again, as you know, the main point is you want to deliver outputs to the user, and people don't consume information like they did before. You know, your websites these days, if you open any website, you can just scroll all the way down to the bottom. Every website does that. You see everything in one page, and that's because smartphones came along and people are just scrolling all the time. So the basic design of websites changed with it. So you know, so as people consume information differently, as technology grows, this will follow as well, for sure. All that being said, to be sure, the overwhelmingly vast majority of the work will be step one, do this, step two, do that, etc., you know, for the foreseeable future.
Can you speak a little about salaries? There's a question about salaries.
I'm hesitant to do so, so I can't be held responsible for anything. I do know that there are some reputable salary surveys that have been done, where we put the salary range on average at about 10,000 shekel a month for an entry-level position. And then as your experience grows, once you're 10 years and up, you're looking into the mid-20s.
That's really on a case-to-case basis, mostly.
Okay, yeah, I think those would be the extremes, but again, they're extremes that are informed by a lot of different cases. You know, that broadly guide you, but I wouldn't say more than that.
Okay, thank you. So if people are planning their aliyah now, or have just arrived, or they've been working in a different field and would like to become technical writers, what would you recommend them to do?
Brush up on the Hebrew. If you don't feel comfortable with it, try learn technical jargon if you can. A lot of the Hebrew is peppered with English words that are conjugated with English. L'daskes, you know, is to have a conversation, you know. So as you do so brush up the Hebrew for sure. And I think also become familiar with technical content. You know, find one of those knowledge bases that I showed you. They're not hard to find. Find any one of them and just get a sense of a feel for what technical writing is. Like I said, it's not content writing, it's not marketing writing. It's a world away from blogging. You know, so get a sense and a feel for what it is, for how it flows. It's got a structure unto itself. Very often, the structure is what is used to communicate with the user. So do that to get a sense of it, to understand if that's something what you want to do. And then there are courses. There are several companies in Israel that offer good technical writing courses. Anyone can contact me offline, and I'll share information how to find them. I won't recommend any because I can't. But there are some really good reputable courses where you'll learn the different software tools that are used. I'm not sure what courses cost. I'm not sure what grants are available through Misrad HaKlita, through Telfed, whatever. I don't know. But one of the advantages of doing a proper course is the companies running the courses will often try place you afterwards. That's part of the business model, how they, you know, they'll act as an HR agency for you as well. They can either, so they will help you get that entry-level job, or some of them will place you as an intern. So if financially you can afford 3-4 months of unpaid work, you know, you can do a technical writing course. You can get 3-4 months very good experience. That's something to consider as well. And then very importantly, speak to more technical writers. I'm more than happy to share all the information that I have, but I'm just one person. Anybody else may have other insights, have other information, anything else that can help. So you said it yourself, Michal, networking. Speak to as many people as you can.
Right, about courses and so forth, everyone, you know, if you're interested, we can give you information. So that Klita does give some assistance for those courses. And I think you mentioned getting on TechShort, that the email list.
Yeah, so there's a very popular email list, a Techshoret email list. I would recommend everyone to get on it. It's a Google group. I think it's very easy to register. You can ask for information there, information on courses, and all the people who run the courses will send you all the information. You can ask for advice. You can ask for maybe feedback on the courses. People will privately tell you what they thought. That's a really good resource. Again, anyone can contact me afterwards, and I'll show you how to get on that.
Okay. Great. Someone asked if there's a specific software they should learn, or create a portfolio of their writing, or like that.
The software that we use is quite complicated. It's not Microsoft Word. You know, it's not obvious how to use it necessarily. So again, unless you have specific experience with that software, I don't think there's much to be gained by downloading a trial version and playing with it. But of course you can. There's not stop anyone from doing it. The two most popular, more robust programs are FrameMaker, which is made by Adobe, and one called Flare, which is made by company Madcap, which was the one I showed you before. These are also, you know, these are all HTML, XML based authoring tools, which means behind the scenes you're basically coding a website. So if you want to get your head around that much, at least become familiar with cascading style sheets, HTML5. These are standard web creation tools. Those you can find courses online, straightforward things to learn. That's incredibly useful. That will certainly help, at least in the initial stages of using one of these tools. There are other tools which are more plug and play type tools, which other companies do use to create knowledge bases, which are maybe slightly simpler. I'm not too familiar with them, but they do exist. Again, I'm happy to find out what they are and pass that information on to anyone. Whether it's useful to try and create a writing sample, I'm not sure what I wouldn't think so, unless you know what you're writing about or why. Any company that interviews you will almost always ask you to take a test. So even if you have some writing samples, if you have writing samples from previous work experience, absolutely share them. It can't hurt. If it's something that you've just done, I'm not sure that will necessarily help. But either way, you're going to be you're going to be asked to prove yourself in some kind of test. Sometimes 2 or 3 tests. There's no actual official certification, you know, so it's all experience based. So again, what you need to do to get a job is to prove that you can do it. A course is usually the easiest and the best way to prove that you can do it. If you can do it without a course, that's great. But experience is key. So the best thing to do is to get as much experience as you can, as early as you can. I personally think the best way to do that is through a course, and then try find some type of internship or something to get you going.
We have 2 questions here. Mm-hmm. How do bots affect technical writing?
They don't. I'm not sure what's behind the question, but it's not something that we worry about.
Okay. And is there an age limit? Do you feel that if someone is over a certain age, would that be a big barrier?
Officially, no. I wonder if entry level might be, but I don't want to say that for sure. But certainly, you know, there are technical writers who are certainly a lot more senior than software engineers, who tend to be in their early 30s, mid 30s generally. But there are high numbers of employed technical writers who are older.
But do you think if I'm 60 years old and I want an entry-level position as a technical writer, would it be easy or possible?
I think 60 at entry level would be asking a lot. It's my personal opinion. I can't say for certain. I don't speak for anyone other than myself and my impression. I think it would be asking a lot at 60 entry level. But I could be wrong. Please, somebody prove me wrong. Call me, phone me, say, Sevitz, you don't know what you're talking about. I'll be more than happy to read that email.
I think we're seeing that, unfortunately, a lot, especially in high tech, unless it's a field that where there is so much demand that cannot be covered, and people are hesitant to offer an entry-level position and salary to someone who is sometimes even over 50 and 55, let alone 60. But like you're saying, please, everyone, prove me wrong. I'd be happy to see that happening.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my impression, but like I said, like you say, there's so many opportunities opening up. There definitely does appear to be another high-tech boom going on at the moment. So there are things opening up, and please, give it a try.
Well, thank you so very much for sharing with us your personal and your professional story. If there are any other questions, please feel free to unmute yourself or send us in the chat. We're happy to answer any additional questions. Anyone? Anything?
You'll send my email out if Michal, you can.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, right. If anyone wants any additional information that you want to get in touch with Asher, we'll send you his email address if you want information about the courses, Misada Klita, sponsors, any additional information we're happy to share with you. Over to you, Yael.
Yes, so thank you very much for being with us. I will be sending all of you an email, as Michal said. It will include a summary, 3 important points, takeaways from this session, and also a very short feedback from you, and Asher's contact details. We'll try to get some information about courses. I mean, we know of some courses, but we really don't want to give specific recommendations, but we will put out a few names so you can start checking out if it interests you. And also there is funding from Misada Klita, and there are also Telfid scholarships. So I see there's a question there. Is there a question in the chat here? Yeah. Is there a relationship to the how-to video creation for companies launching new software? I'm not sure I understood the question.
I think it's like do they? Yes. So we do sometimes add video content. We personally don't do it. But when you have a software that'll come with a how-to and a short video, that's usually done by the technical writing team as well. I think a lot of companies, again, this is just an impression, would like to use more video, but they don't. Video is incredibly time-consuming. You normally need a dedicated person to work on them. I'm not sure if that's always effective, but yes, they probably would fall under the technical documentation team. It very well may.
Okay. If anyone would like to have the recording, please ask for it specifically, and we'll be happy to share it with you alongside any additional information that you want. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you, Asher. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. Have a good evening.
Thank you.